What's up, everybody? My name's Owen, and welcome to the first edition of the Bent Fender podcast. So, before we go into the first ever review, just a little bit about what I will be doing here. So, I will be reviewing every single NASCAR Cup Series race, as well as F1 race. So, when the F1 season starts, these videos will become longer. So, for my first review, I will be reviewing the Clash at the Coliseum. So, this was an event taking place over like 6 hours. And the first half was 4 heat races. And then there was 2 last chance qualifiers. And then in the second half, there was the main race. So I'll be talking about everything that happened. And so in the first heat race, so in each of the heat races, there were 9 racers, and only the top 4 advanced. And I probably should have gotten every single person who was in each of the heats, but I didn't. And so in the first one, Kyle Busch leads from the initial start. There's a lot of like bumping and banging. It's like a super short track at the Coliseum. It was a quarter-mile track, if I'm not mistaken. And then they were only, I think the heat races were only 25 laps. So they were really short lap races. And the only really notable thing is Blaney bumps Hamlin out of the top 4. And at the end of the first heat race, the 4 drivers that were moving to the main race were Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Ryan Blaney. Moving on to the second one, Tyler Reddick led off the start. And again, not much happened other than some typical short track bumping and run, like the bump and run. And the 4 drivers that moved on from Heat 2 were Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Austin Dillon, and Cole Custer. Then in the third heat, Justin Haley leads, Justin Haley's a rookie in the Cup Series for a new team. And again, it stayed clean racing in this one. And the 4 drivers that moved on to the main were Justin Haley, Byron, Christopher Bell, and Chase Elliott. And then in the final heat, Joey Logano started that. And in the fourth heat, this is when the first caution came out. And that's when Ty Dillon was slow on the track, and he became the first caution. And then a couple laps later, Kurt Busch bumps into Landon Castle and then spins Austin Cindric. And after that, there was still some bumping and banging going on, but after that, they were pretty clean. So the 4 moving on were Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Michael McDowell, and then Jones. All right, so in the first of the last chance qualifiers, only the top 3 move on from the last chance qualifiers. So in this one, Denny Hamlin led, and then a couple laps into it, Todd Gilliland, who is kind of like still getting into the series, he dumps Eric Almirola, who is Almirola is in his final season because he is retiring after this year. Like, he absolutely just dumped Almirola. And let's just say Almirola was not happy. And I would be too if I got dumped like that. Then after the restart, Ross Chastain, who on the restart started second, he dropped to 7th within one to 2 laps. And then like the rest of the first qualifier was pretty clean. So the 3 moving on from this one were Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, and AJ Allmendinger. And then the second last chance qualifier. Now, before this one, Martin Truex Jr., who was supposed to be in this one, he had already made the main event, being he was the top points finisher who wasn't already in the final to now make the final. So there was only 9 racers in this one rather than the 10 that was in the one before. Now, in this one, Bubba leads, and it seems like it's pretty good for the first, like, a little less than half of it. And then Dylan bumps into Burton, who hits the back of Ryan Priest that spins Priest out on that. Then a little bit later, Ryan Priest just spins Landon Castle in the middle of the corner. And off that ensuing restart, Ty Dillon jumped the restart, so he had to go to the tail end of the field. And at the clash, wasn't really the best of passing places to pass. It was only like really in the corners. You had to like dive in to even have a chance to make a pass at the clash yesterday. And then after that, it got chaotic. So first off, Landon Castle and Brad Keselowski spin out. Well, Keselowski bumped Castle and then for some reason got loose as well, and then they just collided for a second time. Then Dylan spins Cindric a couple laps later. And then Kurt Busch gets bumped. So he was going into the corner, going 3 wide, which wasn't the smartest decision, but there was a couple cars behind him that he couldn't really get down, so kind of had to go in. And the 2 cars that were below him, I don't remember off the top of my head who they were. They kind of moved a little up and bumped Bush, sending him into the wall in the corner. And Kurt Busch was the end of his day. Then after that, Bubba Wallace spins Cindric again. Spins Cindric, who's gotten into a couple scuffles already today. Then, while that was happening, Alex Bowman hits the wall. I think he just hit the wall trying to avoid it, or he like got loose trying to avoid it and hit it, which that sent him out of the race. And then a couple laps later, Burton spins Dylan, or spins off of Dylan, should I say. So Dylan was driving really aggressively and kind of recklessly yesterday. So, with that being said, that was all the action from the last chance qualifier. So, the three people moving on were Ty Dillon, I think it's Austin Priest, and Bubba Wallace, all advance. Now for the main event. So, Bush leads off the start, and nothing really happens for the first third of the race, other than a couple cars got lapped. Because in this, there were 23 cars on the track. So, at the first third of the race, there were only 17 cars on the lead lap at this point. And then we had a restart at lap 52 for something. I don't think I think they just threw the caution out for some reason. Maybe debris, I don't know. Then after that, Burton spins off of Stenhouse. Then in the next couple laps, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, and Tyler Reddick all have problems. Something with the car. So they there's a caution for like all of them, and they go off the track. And that's the first. These are like the first real big problems that the next gen car has had so far today. Then after that, Chase Elliott goes into the corner, gets loose and spins, and just barely bumps the wall. But he does stay in the race, so that's good for Chase Elliott fans. And then about halfway through, still 17 cars are on the lead lap, with three cars being out of the race. And then after that, I don't know what happened to Pierce, or Priest, because like before the commercial break that happened, he was still racing. Then after, I noticed that it said he was off the track. So I'm like, what happened to him? And I still don't know what happened. After that, Ryan Blaney gets like bumped and then ends up kind of slowing down and is off the pace. They have to throw a caution for that. And Ryan Blaney's out of the race now. Then off that restart, one of the Hendrick drivers gets into the back of Justin Haley, who bumps into Larson. And then on the front straightaway, Larson comes down and hit Blaney or hit Haley that and sent Haley into the wall, which destroyed the front left side of the car. And after that restart, it was pretty smooth sailing for the rest of the race. Joey Logano ends up winning it, followed by Kyle Busch, and in third was Austin Dillon. So, though that was the top three of the race, all in all, I feel like it was a good event, but it could have been better, I'd say. I don't really have any idea what they could do better next time, so might see that in the next episode. But I'll probably rate this probably a 70, like a 70% kind of thing. It was good. It was definitely a different kind of venue because the Cup Series has never raced on a or hasn't raced on a quarter mile track in, well, my lifetime. So it's kind of good to see them going back to the quarter mile stuff. Hopefully it sticks, and as the clash going forward. And other than that, that is all for this episode. Please remember to like and subscribe. And we will see you guys in the next episode, which is going to be for the Daytona 500. Or, yeah, I think it's the 500. Peace.